Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. Hey, welcome in. Mike Hardenbrook here. You know that feeling, right? You head out, or maybe you're just relaxing at home. You think, okay, just one drink tonight. And then somehow a couple hours slip by and just one drink won't happen. Okay, happens to a lot of us. And it's so easy to just chalk it up to, weak willpower. Like, I should have just stopped. But what if it's actually more complicated than that? What if there are real, tangible things happening in our brain psychologically and neurologically that make sticking to just one surprisingly tricky? That's what I want to explore a bit today. We're going to unpack the science behind why that first drink can sometimes open the floodgates. We'll look at things like the dopamine effect, that initial pleasant buzz, and how even a little alcohol can kind of start to quiet down the part of our brain that makes careful decisions. We'll also touch on those sneaky habit loops that run in the background, how our own awareness gets a bit fuzzy, maybe. And yeah, that all too familiar, screw it moment. So let's start right there with that very first sip. What's actually going on inside our heads that makes it feel so good, so enticing? Well, the moment that alcohol hits your system, it triggers a release of dopamine. That's a neurotransmitter in your brain's reward center. Dopamine is, it's linked to pleasure, satisfaction, even motivation. So that first drink, it can genuinely make you feel good. Maybe it's stress relief, maybe a little confidence boost. But here's the really interesting part. Dopamine isn't just about the feeling good right now. It's huge for predicting future rewards. So that first sip doesn't just feel nice, it actually tells your brain, hey, more of this will also feel nice. It primes the pump, basically. Your brain starts anticipating the next drink, that next little hit of pleasure, sometimes before you've even finished the first one. Kind of sets up the stride to continue. Okay, so right off the bat, we got this biological nudge saying, that was good, let's have another. Our reward system is already thinking ahead, but then why does the decision to stop get so much harder? If you went in planning for one, what changes after that first drink that makes sticking to the plan tougher? This is where the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, comes in. Think of the PFC as your brain's CEO, right? It's the control center. It handles planning, impulse control, weighing long-term consequences, basically all the rational decision-making stuff. It's the part of you that made the plan to have just one drink in the first place. Now, even a small amount of alcohol can start to dampen the activity in the PFC. It doesn't shut it off completely, not with one drink usually, but it does impair its function. So the very part of your brain responsible for sticking to the plan, for saying, okay, that's enough, starts to get a little less effective. Your internal brakes aren't working quite as well. The you who decided on one drink is now operating with slightly fuzzier judgment, making it harder to override that dopamine-driven urge for another. See how these things connect? You've got the pleasure signal saying go, and the control signal saying stop, getting a bit weaker. That's a tough combo. Now let's layer on habit loops. These are powerful, and they often work totally under the radar. A habit loop is basically trigger, action, reward. Like clockwork, finish work, that's a trigger. Pour a drink, that's the action. Feel relaxed, that's the reward. Or maybe it's meeting friends at a certain place. Trigger, the place, the people, action. Order your usual drink, reward, social connection, maybe that dopamine hit again. When you repeat these loops enough times, they become automatic. Seriously automatic. Like driving a car. You don't consciously think about every little step. Your brain recognizes the trigger could be a time of day, a place, a feeling, and just. And runs the program. Having that drink becomes the default, almost bypassing conscious thought. So even if you intended to have just one, that ingrained habit loop can kick in without you even noticing, making it feel almost effortless to just have the next one. It's the path of least resistance, neurologically speaking. Okay, so we have dopamine pulling as our judgment getting slightly impaired and habits potentially running on autopilot. What else? Well, there's our own self-awareness. Alcohol is pretty notorious for distorting perception, right? And that includes how we perceive ourselves. It makes it harder to accurately judge how intoxicated we actually are and how much our judgment is really being affected. You might have one drink, maybe two, and feel pretty normal. You think, I'm fine, I'm totally in control. Even while physiologically things are changing. Your internal gauge gets kind of wonky. And the environment plays a big role here too. Loud music, lots of conversation, being distracted, it all makes it harder to tune into those subtle internal cues that you're getting tipsy. You might underestimate how much you've had, or just genuinely not feel the effects as strongly, even though they're there, influencing your decisions. Which leads perfectly into that phenomenon. I call it the screw it effect. You might know it. You planned on 0 drinks, or maybe just one. You have that one. And then this little voice pops up. Well, you already slipped up. Might as well just go for it now. Sound familiar? Psychologists actually call this the abstinence violation effect. It's where breaking a rule, even slightly, makes you feel like you've failed completely. So you just abandon the goal altogether. It's like a switch flips in your brain. You go from being careful and controlled to, what the heck? Indulgence mode activated. That initial violation, having the one drink you maybe didn't plan on, or the second when you plan on one, can trigger this whole shift in mindset. And that might as well, attitude can gather steam really fast. Okay, wow. So when you put it all together, the dopamine anticipation, the slightly muffled decision-making, the automatic habits, the clouded self-awareness, and this screw it tendency, it paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it? It's really not just about having bad willpower. There are some serious biological and psychological forces at work pushing us towards that next drink. Recognizing that, I think, is step one. It takes away some of the shame or frustration, maybe. But step two is crucial. What can we actually do about it? How can we work with our brains instead of just fighting them? Well, there are definitely strategies, and they're based on understanding these mechanisms. First off, decide before you start. Be specific. How many drinks? What kind? What time are you stopping? Write it down if it helps. Having that clear intention set when your prefrontal cortex is fully online gives you a strong anchor. Another big one, build in a pause, especially before that second drink. Just stop, take a breath, check in. How do you actually feel? Do you truly want another, or is it just momentum, habit, or the social setting? That little gap can be surprisingly powerful. It interrupts the automatic flow and gives your conscious mind a chance to weigh in again. Then think about those habit loops. Can you modify the triggers? If you always drink wine while cooking dinner, maybe try sparkling water one night or listen to a podcast instead. If Friday happy hour always leads to more than you want, could you suggest a different activity or go to a different place or consciously choose a non-alcoholic drink first? Shaking up the routine weakens those automatic links. Also, consider incorporating regular alcohol-free days. This isn't about punishment. It's about giving your brain, especially those reward and control pathways, a chance to reset and recalibrate. It helps lower the overall pull of alcohol, and maybe the most important mindset shift. Focus on patterns, not perfection. Expecting yourself to be perfectly robotic about this stuff is unrealistic. It's human to slip up. The goal isn't never making a mistake. It's about recognizing your patterns, understanding why they happen, and having strategies to gently nudge yourself back towards your goals. It's a learning process. Now, one bonus thought here, related to giving your brain a break. When you do take time off from alcohol, maybe a few days or weeks, you're allowing key brain systems to restore balance. We're talking the reward system, impulse control, even your stress response. There's also some emerging research, and our stress emerging around supplements like N-Acetylcysteine, or NAC. It seems to play a role in regulating glutamate, a neurotransmitter involved in cravings and compulsive behaviors. Some studies suggest it might help support brain balance and reduce cravings during periods of change, like cutting back on alcohol. No, it's not a magic pill, definitely not. But it's an interesting area of research, suggesting potential tools that might support the brain's natural rebalancing process when you're trying to change habits. Something to keep an eye on, maybe discuss with a doctor if you're curious. So wrapping this up, the main thing I hope you take away is this. That urge for just one more is driven by some really fundamental brain processes. It's biology and psychology working together. Understanding that the dopamine, the prefrontal cortex effects, the habits, the awareness shifts, the screw it moment hopefully takes some of the mystery and self-blame out of it. And more importantly, it gives you knowledge you can use. You can anticipate these effects. You can plan around them. You can be kinder to yourself when things don't go perfectly. You're empowered to make more informed choices. So here's something to think about this week, based on everything we've covered. Considering your own brain's reward system and those habit loops we talked about. What's one small, totally manageable change you could experiment with just to see what happens around that very first drink? Just one little tweak to the routine, the timing, the choice, the location. Give it some thought. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.